Hello and welcome to Coffee with Dr. Carla. I'm Dr. Carla. This is Mary Beth, and we are so glad that you're here with us. Today, our goal is to talk about mental health related issues and hopefully begin to end the stigma surrounding them. So, when we were preparing for today, we had a little conversation about your battle with bulimia. And so, you know, I, I know besides the regular stigma around mental health, I think there's even a larger stigma around things having to do with eating. There's a lot of finger pointing and shooting that happens. And so I'm glad that you're willing to share a little bit about your journey. So why don't you just kind of let us know, what was going on and how you figured out that, this was an issue.
Well, it started when I was in high school. It's a time when people are going through puberty, major changes in their life. You want to be accepted, not only accepted, but also you're thinking about relationships and focusing on what you look like. Um, so at that time, I was playing sports and doing a lot physically. However, I didn't see myself as good enough. And I started working out with my father, and I found that I wasn't losing weight. And so that's when it began for me. I was looking for a something I could control, number one, but I was also looking for a fix that I thought would better myself. And during that time, when you would think that somebody would be telling you to stop, I was actually met with more positive feedback.
Oh,
I wasn't telling people that I was bulimic per se, but when I was losing the weight, I was getting a lot of
accolades. Okay.
Yes.
And where did those accolades come from?
They came from the opposite sex. They came from other girls. They came from even adults. They started to treat me better.
Okay. Yeah. You said you were in sports. Coaches and trainers, were they also encouraging as they saw you lose weight, or did that not play a factor into it?
It did. I found that like I was initially I was running faster because I was also working out. But then as time went on, I actually like my body was being depleted of vitamins, nutrients, and things that it needed. And then depression kicked in. And that's when I started dropping out of sports before coaches could even say anything.
Okay. Okay. So they didn't necessarily say anything while you were losing the weight, and you did the mass exodus before they could start to call something into question. Okay.
Right.
Interesting. So how long did this go on?
A very long time. It went on from about the age of 16 up until about the age of 36.
Okay. Okay. And so, um, you're right. It's a long time. Um, to help people understand, like, what were some of the things that, obviously you talk about the depression and everything and the depleted energy and capacity to do something, but, how else did it interfere with your well-being, your life?
It became a part of my day. Everything revolved around my eating disorder. So if somebody wanted to meet me at 2:00, if that was a time where a binge was supposed to take place, I could not physically leave my home. I had to be there in order to take part in like almost like a ritualistic part of my day. It was something that controlled me. But then that body dysmorphia, where even when I was at my thinnest, I still thought that people were looking at me differently. Then the anxiety took hold, and I just physically wouldn't even leave the house.
Wow. So at what point did you realize that it was a problem? Because I'm assuming that this idea around the rituals and all this stuff, you thought, well, this is what I need to do. This is a good thing, right? Like you had a very distorted way of looking at it, I'm assuming. Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. So then at what point did you realize that maybe this isn't the way to live?
I probably realized that in my 20s, but it was something that I was so used to doing that I didn't know how to stop. Um, I did have periods where I did stop, centered like around the birth of my children,
Okay.
but it always slowly made its way back into my life up until about 4 years ago
Okay.
when I finally sought the mental health and actually admitted that it was a problem.
So what about the people around you? Did anyone, call you out on it? Did anyone question what was going on? I mean, it's hard to, you know, purge and not have other, especially if you're throwing up and not have other people notice that. And I know there's a lot of secrecy around it, but
Mm-hmm.
at some point, someone's gonna have to notice.
Mm-hmm. I remember a period where, like, when I was getting the help I needed, my mom was like, "I'm so proud of you. You look so much better." My fiance said, I'm so grateful that you're finally," and he had never said anything like that. He knew that I was doing it. But he's like, "I'm so grateful that you are getting this help." He said, "It was so hard for me to hear in the middle of the night, you getting up, and I knew what you were doing."
Oh,
So,
were you surprised that he knew?
oh, very much so. I thought he had no idea.
It's amazing how we don't realize.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, okay, so you realize that perhaps this is an issue, but ultimately, how did what was it that finally pushed you to get help? Like, was there a particular moment in time? And what kind of help did you get?
I saw my dad's health declining. I saw my uncle's health declining. And I thought, realistically, I don't want my health to decline. Like, I want to live a very long time.
Right.
Um, so like many people do now, I got on my computer and I typed therapist in my area and got a list, and we did a lot of talking on through Zoom, or it was a lot of telehealth, and I felt a comfortability with her to be able to admit, and it was something that I was in denial of for so long, because I thought like other people do much worse things.
Oh, the comparison thing, that's always good. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah.
So when I was finally able to admit it and her not judge, but ask me what my underlying issues, like to really dig deep. Once I started digging deep, I realized that it was the one thing in my life that I felt like I had control of.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So as we kind of round out today, what's the one thing you would want our audience to know? Right? Like if this is an area they're struggling with, what's one thing that you really want them to take away from our conversation?
Mm-hmm. That it's okay to talk to somebody, and it's okay to get the help, and just even, it might be a hard time in your life, but like at the time, it might have been the only way you knew how to cope, and that's okay.
All right. Well, I appreciate you being really candid because I know it's going to help somebody who's watching this make some changes in their life. So remember, you can change your thoughts, discover your potential, and transform your life by focusing on your overall well-being. So until next time, continue working on being the best you possible. Bye.